Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode from Pivot in Progress. I'm your host for today. My name is Arjun. I'm the founder of Pivot, and we are doing a very timely, very interesting discussion on a topic that has been raised by many folks, in especially the tech space, as something they are very fearful about, very anxious about, and are not sure how to kind of structure their career based on all the emerging news around this topic. What is this topic? It is around SaaSpocalypse. It's a new term that's been coined very recently in the US regarding the impact of AI on the existing SaaS and even to an extent other IT services, GCC firms. Now, we have two brilliant speakers with us today. They are backstage. I'm going to be bringing them on stage very shortly. Both of them have a tremendous amount of experience, both in tech specific roles as well as non tech roles, but within the overarching SaaS and IT industry. So, without further ado, I will be bringing them up here. All right, great. Hi, Rahul. Hi, Sashidhar. Welcome again. Hope you both are doing well.
Yes,
All
good.
well,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for making time for this. We're really looking forward to this particular session because we have gotten so much interest and so many queries from people around the world, especially obviously India, where we have most presence, but even from other countries like US and in Europe, about what the heck is happening with regard to AI's impact on the existing tech landscape, right? So I think it's a timely topic. But before we dive into it, let's do a quick round of intros. So I can go first. For those who don't know me, my name is Arjun and I'm the founder at Pivot. We help people, mostly mid career professionals, accomplish their most ambitious career goals. Meaning, when people are thinking about not just changing their job from one company to another, but really thinking about leveling up their career, going from IC to manager or leadership roles, or perhaps even transitioning into new domains and industries, upskilling, expanding their network. So these are the inflection points where we make the most impact, and we do it with the help of a couple of different partners and solutions. One of them is we have a very large network of fairly credible industry experts, people like Rahul and Sashidhar, who provide one-on-one mentorship and guidance on helping you land your target role. So that's what we do at Pivot. We'll talk more about what we do during the course of this conversation, but I will turn it over to Rahul first. Rahul, welcome again. Thank you so much for making time for this. If you could just share with us in a nutshell, what your journey has been like and what you do today at Zoho, that would be really helpful.
sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Rahul. I'm working as the director of sales and channel at Zoho. So, I've been with Zoho for the last about 7 years. I joined Zoho right when we started our enterprise strategy. We started with the Indian markets. Now I'm handling the European markets as well. So overall, I have about 15 to 16 years in the tech industry, in working across multiple roles. I started my career as a developer, then moved to program management. Then I did some tech consulting, and finally landed into a business role here. So that's been my journey in the tech and the SaaS industry.
Perfect. Great. Thanks so much, Rahul. Sashidhar would love to hear the same about your background and what you're doing today.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Arjun. And hi, Rahul, and hi, everyone. I'm Sashidhar. I've been in the software engineering industry for over 21 years now. I started my journey as a software engineer in the enterprise, in the SaaS enterprise at Oracle, and I was there for 13 years. I grew as a manager there. Then I shifted to Indeed, which is like a web scale platform. So right now I lead full stack engineering teams as a director of engineering here. I'm responsible for Indeed's job application process. And yeah, I'm glad to join here, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion and help a lot of people out.
Yes, perfect. Great. So, okay, let's get started. I think, the topic is obviously centered around SaaSpocalypse, again, a term that was recently coined in US. Obviously, I think it caught the attention of many people primarily because there was one day last week or kind of a stretch of days last week wherein the stock market really it slided down significantly
Mhm.
by almost, I would say, somewhere between 3% to almost 7-8%, depending on the region you're talking about. And most of the impacted stock were tech stocks, right? A lot of them even SaaS companies, which have generally been considered well performing, high quality stocks. And the number one reason for this was there are certain AI tools, some of them are very popular. We are already using them, like ChatGPT, Claude from Anthropic, Perplexity. They've made very significant advancement in a very short period of time in what they can do using certain agentic AI tools. Wherein we thought, okay, companies might have expected AI to get there in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Now they're doing it within 3, 4, 5 months, and that rattled the everybody, especially in the tech space, which then got coined as the term SaaSpocalypse. So, what I would love to start off with, Rahul, we'll start off with you on this, is how much of this fear that is created in the market right now, that okay, AI is advancing, AI can do so many things that the current software and SaaS and IT services do, but soon it won't be the same way that it's functioning right now, and we'll have a very different landscape of primarily AI native companies, and so the SaaS companies and IT services are not going to be doing as well. That is the risk that people are seeing in the current market. How much of that do you agree with, broadly speaking? And then specifically, if you think about people who are working in that industry, how much do you think they are at risk from this?
Okay. Okay. Again, will there going is there going to be a change in SaaS industry? Yes, there will be changes because of these tools here. But again, we cannot actually correlate it directly with how the markets are reacting. So there is actually not much. There's no need to panic, right? So markets reacted the way they did because of various other reasons as well, right? And it's not just because they suddenly realize that AI is going to change SaaS industry in a couple of days. So that's not going to happen. But there will be a fundamental shift in how SaaS generates revenue. So if you're familiar with how SaaS works, it's predominantly a per seat or a per login way in which we generate revenue, right? So if you buy Salesforce, you buy say 100 logins, you charge X amount for 100 logins. So that way of charging is something that might change in the near future, right? So I think Salesforce has already started experimenting with different licensing models. One way to put it, they are trying to uh, go towards a more usage based or a consumption based or an outcome based licensing model, right? Is this going to affect the revenues maybe in the short term, but over a long term, not really. Okay, so companies which are going to offer a different revenue model are not going to jeopardize themselves. So in short term, yes, the model has to evolve, has to change, but it's not really a big reason to panic right now, right? And secondly, when you talk about enterprise, right? So any change in enterprise, I'm sure even Sashi would agree. Uh, it's not so easy to implement changes in an enterprise industry. A lot of other things, other factors we have to take into picture. It's just because AI comes into the picture, the entire business model or an operation model is not going to change overall. It's going to be gradual. What we have to figure out is uh, we should kind of figure out how this change is going to happen, what are the new roles that are going to be created, and how we should prepare for these roles. So that is the way which I would look at. So
Got
that's
it.
my take on it.
Got it. So it's, I mean, you're basically saying that the landscape is changing, but it's not as accelerated of a trend or as deep seated, wide ranging in the
Right.
near future
Yeah.
as it might be over a longer period. And there are ways that the current companies can adapt by that time
Mhm.
to sort of become more AI centric and
Yeah.
be able to adapt their own business models to that new
Yeah. Yeah.
norm. Okay. Sashidhar, similar question, just slightly different angle. I want to understand from you both, Obviously you're more in a engineering, tech leader kind of a role. So I wanted to understand more from you, like what are the things that are changing, but at the same time, if you could highlight what are the things that are not changing, which you feel will remain kind of timeless even post the AI agentic era, for especially SaaS and IT companies, right? So if you can highlight both for us, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. This is probably a question on everyone's mind: what's changing, what's not changing. Rahul has highlighted a few important things already, right? The revenue generation model. But I'll talk more from the producers, the people who actually produce the code and generate the code, right? One of the most important things that changing is actually generation of code itself. That part has significantly improved because of the explosion of AI tools. And I think most of the industry, unless you're like super lagging there, has have adopted to it, including the IT services folks. I think everyone is using AI tools, but that because of the cost of reduction in AI shipping features faster, we now sort of that brings in the second change, which is per project you probably need less heads or less people to develop that, right? That's the second important change. And the third change is how IT services bill, right? Like earlier we used to bill for effort. Now we are starting to bill for outcomes. In the sense that you're like 8 hours billing a person is very different from billing someone for a specific outcome, right? You're improving X% of something in your workflow or reducing Y% of inefficiency and all that stuff, right? So
Hmm.
uh, these are the things that are actually changing. What's not changing is what Rahul again, I second Rahul there, that enterprises they still need reliability, security, compliance. None of it's going away, and using AI for fast development actually brings in a lot of risks. Which means what's not changing is human judgment, right? AIs cannot judge; they can perform tasks. So if you are an engineer or someone who is just performing tasks without judgment, that is what is changing. But if you are still in judgmental roles, right, that is not changing. And we, yeah, like I said, for SaaS, for enterprises, reliability and security and compliance are far more important than just like really fast outputs.
Got it. Got it. I think that's really helpful. Thanks for sharing that. It's good to know that there are certain things which will, remain timeless and people can count on them. Now, what I want to specifically focus on with both of you, given that you both have slightly different backgrounds, one more so in tech roles, the other more in slightly, sales or business oriented roles, is the impact on specific roles. I think Sashidhar, you sort of already covered at a very high level, what coders and developers could expect in the next couple of years. And I think that is common knowledge, right? We know that development has taken very significant strides from AI perspective in the last couple of years. But uh, Rahul, we'll start again with you.
Mhm.
What is the specific impact that you are seeing, both from a job security perspective, because that is definitely one of the biggest threat of AI, as Sashida pointed out, you don't need as many heads to do the same work. So in the business oriented role, sales, marketing, growth, operations, etc., what kind of impact you're seeing from a job security perspective, not just for now, but let's say in the next 1 or 2 years as well? And what do you think people should be thinking about in terms of navigating that, in like if there's job security issues, how they should be navigating it, plus the impact on their career growth and career trajectory, right? Like how should they be thinking about it for business oriented roles?
Sure. So, so one thing is definitely happening. So, what took say 10 or 15 people to do right now can be done with 2 or 3 people, and the impact of this reduction is more on the entry level roles rather than say a bit more experience or a mid level or a more experience level roles. Uh, the reason is domain expertise, right? Especially when it comes to sales. So I'm in cybersecurity sales, right? So even though I'm in cybersecurity sales, you need to have that domain expertise for for that particular industry in which you are selling into, right? So I predominantly sell into pharma and BFSI industry, so I need to know I need to keep up to date on the latest cybersecurity laws that are being coming in, AI related laws, privacy laws, legal laws, compliance laws. So that is the domain knowledge that is actually differentiating whether you are whether your job is AI proof, whether there is scope to grow, and so on. So domain knowledge is one area where I see a very good job security remaining in. Uh, Unfortunately, entry level roles are getting affected, especially a lot of roles where we let's say we get a list of uh, domains which needs to be enriched with data. Previously we had a team of 10 or 15 people who would do their research, enrich their domains with information on that particular domain, the industry, the revenue that the company is doing, and so on. But right now we have tools for it, right? So it takes one person to set up a pipeline on Clay, put these domains in, it populates the data. It's done in a fraction of a day, right? What took like 2-3 days to do, it's getting done in a day. Unfortunately, it is the entry level roles that are getting affected. And again, unfortunately, it's a catch 22. If we don't hire enough engineers, entry level salespeople, how they later down the line, how are we going to get experienced enterprise salespeople or experienced account executives? That is a challenge right now we are navigating. But again, as I said, especially in non-tech roles, business roles, uh, where there is a lot of aspect of building human relationships is needed. That's where your non-tech skills, building a relationship, judgment, building your domain expertise comes into play. So, and these skills are going to be the factors that are going to distinguish the value that you're going to bring to the table. So that's my take on the non-tech roles.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's very pointed, and I do feel that there is going to be something that we need to do about, like you said, entry level, junior level roles. Because if the trend continues, I think that can get very exacerbated and cause a lot of just chaos in the 20-year-olds kind of workforce. We'll talk more about that. I have certain targeted questions related to that, Rahul. But Sashidhar, if you can share your thoughts on more of the tech roles. I think you already talked about similar effects happening for software developers, and I think that was one of the main reasons that the whole SaaSpocalypse happened, because companies saw like the pace at which coding is being done through AI. Um, how is this all going to play out according to you for tech career trajectories and job security?
Yeah, I'll talk about. I mean, there are many tech roles. I'll just talk about software engineers and product managers. Two roles that we keep talking very complementary to each other. I think for software engineers, if you are just like coding line by line, uh, and you're not designing systems, uh, those folks are going to be at risk, because that is what AI is really good at. Like I said, AI lacks judgment. AI needs someone to tell what to do, right? So the more senior parts of the role, or at least we used to tack on some of the things that used only to be done by senior engineers, which is like gather requirements, right? Do system design, architecture, ensure that your system is built like a platform and not like a spaghetti of code, right? All of this becomes indispensable now. In fact, if anything, those engineers are becoming a lot more powerful with AI, right? You probably even get paid more if you demonstrate that, because one person can do the job of like five, right? So essentially, if you are at risk, if you're just doing some, just a CRUD heavy backend role, or just following instructions from someone and writing code, or just doing some basic front end work, and QA automation also, very low complexity, just testing workflows, manual QA, for example, right? These are all at risk. And I already talked about what are the non-risky roles, right? If you can show leverage that you can augment yourself with AI and demonstrate that speed, you actually become doubly powerful. Um, and something very similar is happening for product managers as well, right? Uh, the more junior product managers who just like say they just take instructions from folks and just write PRDs or just coordinate projects during Jira. Those are at risk. Whereas product managers are supposed to be like thinking problem first, right? What's the problem for my customer, right? They need to interact with sales, and that's not going away. Right? AI can't do that for you. Uh, so the problem first PMs or PMs that have AI product inclusion, like how can I include AI in my product offerings, kind of stuff, or data-driven decision making, doing UX research. All of this is not going away. So essentially, again, just simply punching in code or writing docs, content creation trumps a lot of judgment kind of behaviors. And yeah, we should definitely talk about how do we solve this trap of if there are no juniors, how do we produce capable seniors later, and hopefully we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think maybe then the elephant in the room is that, right? Like, I think we need to address that because, I mean, you've both mentioned directly and indirectly that people at the mid level are not necessarily entirely safe because, we also hear about like, I mean, we get a lot of mid career professionals with 10 to 20 years of experience. I'm sure you both speak with many of them during your mentoring sessions as well, that they also sometimes feel at risk. But perhaps the risk is more pronounced at the junior entry level roles because there's more established industry and domain expertise within mid career professionals, right? And they're not doing the sort of the junior level sort of grunt work like writing code or writing emails and doing cold outreach and those kind of things. But can we talk a little bit more about the specific skills that you feel are becoming more important for people at both early and mid career levels in the new era, post AI? Rahul, what are your thoughts on specifically, again, business oriented, sales oriented, marketing oriented professionals, wherein you feel like, okay, there is a way, there's a path ahead for this risk to be contained if we were to, let's say, evolve from focusing on these set of skills that we do today to some other new set of skills which will become more important, or if there are any other um, solutions in your mind apart from reskilling the workforce, please feel free to share that as well.
Sure. Um, so, I mean, it is a little bit challenging, especially at early career, to acquire that domain expertise, uh, because it takes time, right? So you need to be on the job to actually truly understand about that domain. You can read a number of books about BFSI, but unless you work on in that particular field, especially when you are dealing with an enterprise sales deal, a $10 million deal, and if you're never done that before, you won't know, just by reading how to navigate a $10 million deal, right? So unfortunately, that takes time to get there. But maybe what my advice or my suggestion would be to freshers or people early in the career would be to uh, show that uh, enthusiasm and the curiosity to learn, because right now entry level roles are shrinking. But what we are looking at, especially when we do such hiring, is we look for that ability to take ownership and accountability for the tasks that you are assigned to, right? And whether they're doing it in a smart way, given that a lot of AI tools are there now, there is no excuse to not to use those tools. Even if you're not familiar with them, there are lots of resources that you can set it up for free, try out, specific to your field. Maybe Sashi would know more about how this applies to the technical side, but from a business side, uh, there are a lot of tasks still being done manually in organizations. As I said, right? So even though AI tools are there, even in my own organization, not everything is right away automated, right? We have reduced our hiring of early entry candidates, but it's not gone to zero, right? Maybe we hired 100 people, now we are hiring 80 people, but those 80 people who are getting hired, right, people who move on to the next stage are the ones who are smart and clever and use these AI tools to get the work done more quickly in a smart and efficient way. That is the sort of skill that you have to put in. uh, you have your seniors to guide you here, who give you that domain or bridge that domain
Yeah.
gap that you have. But the ownership, the taking that initiative
Yeah.
to use a tool like say Clay or an Apollo AI. These are tools which we use in sales and marketing
Mm.
to change the existing process, not give the excuse like this is the way I've been doing things here. Things are going to change. It is better that you be the one suggesting the new way to do things in a more efficient way. So
Rahul, just sorry to interject, but is there in your mind an example that you can share specifically of any, since you're talking about more early career professional, any early career professional, either within your company or perhaps in your network also outside your company,
mhm.
who has been able to do this that you're talking about? Can you
Yeah,
share a slightly more in-depth example on that front?
yeah, lots. I mean, so
Yeah.
in Zoho we have tools for almost everything in Zoho, right? So in fact, we have our own low code, no code platform called Zoho Creator. So there are so many people across different teams, even for example in sales, right? So we have SDRs who have actually used this Zoho Creator, the low code no code platform. They have done their integration. They built some pipelines. They integrated with our CRM. uh, Data enrichment is it's not as easy as it sounds, right? So they have brilliantly done a lot of data enrichments for the leads that we get. So the sheer volume of leads that we get in a day, uh, there are SDRs who have done some experiments, broken it down into specific industries and use these tools to enrich the data. So which helped improve our lead quality significantly. So in fact, it is so good now that we are planning to roll it out across the company, this process. So there are people who have actually done brilliantly using these tools. And the funny thing was these tools were already there, but no one, even among the senior folks, right? No one found the time to sit and put these things together, stitch things together, and run a new pipeline. But there are some enterprising early career employees who have actually done this.
Okay, got it. I think that's a really good example. I'm glad there are things happening within your company itself. And I'm sure there are other companies who are also trying to incentivize professionals to do that. Rahul, just before we move on from you, any thoughts on mid-career professionals that you want to share? Because I mean, yes, I by the way, I know many mid-career professionals who are also dabbling into using these low-code, no-code tools
Mhm.
for different purposes, kind of upskilling themselves, expanding this skill set into not just the mid and higher level work, but sometimes even doing the grunt work themselves. Like I know a lot of product managers, Sashita, I would love to hear from you, but there are a lot of PMs who are building, the first MVP themselves, which they didn't used to do earlier. Is there an equivalent, Rahul, that senior sales and business professionals are doing, which they didn't used to do, but now they are doing or expected to do because of AI?
I can give you my example as well. So, as I said, I'm in cybersecurity. Now the expectation is when we go talk to an enterprise, when we engage in an enterprise deal, we are expected to know at least the senior sales folks, for that matter, even the mid-career sales folks, are expected to know the regional level compliance and security standards. So given that AI has come into picture, and given that we are also using a lot of AI in our solutions, uh, common questions posed by CIOs to us is what are the how do we guarantee the privacy of the data? How do we guarantee compliance? How do we guarantee that the risks of AI, things like hallucination, those things that don't happen in the product or in our solution, right? So we are expected to first know these things. Few years back, I don't think salespeople were expected to know what is hallucination, or were not expected to know what is a precision or a recall. But these things are now expected by from the salespeople, by the CXOs when they engage in these negotiations, right? So we have to put in that effort to learn. Since I handle Europe, so I need to know about GDPR. I need to know about NIS2, the security frameworks, which is quite common across in Europe. So that is the shift that I have seen, especially in the last 2 to 3 years since the advent of ChatGPT, Gemini. Um, this is a sort of expertise which is expected from mid-career as well as senior career folks, at least in my line of work.
Got it. All right. Sashidhar, I would love to now quickly loop you in. I think it would be good if you can share your thoughts similarly on similar topic, for not for tech career professionals as well.
Yeah, 100%. I started software engineers and then you go to product managers and other roles. For software engineers, I think the industry has proven that all software engineers should now do AI assisted development, right? You just need to be fluent with these tools. And as they say, right, the most powerful programming language now is English, not Java or Python, because like you are going to prompt uh, the coding tools, which are very powerful, by the way. Cloud Code, Gemini has coding tools, Cursor, and all these tools are very powerful. So all engineers should get comfortable with that. Anyone who has resistance to using tools for whatever philosophical reasons, I think they're going to really fall behind. So that's an obvious guidance I have been giving with all the engineers I meet. The other thing is that you're going to write less code and be reviewing a lot more code, right? Because AI is going to, you're going to prompt, everyone is going to prompt, a lot of code is going to be generated, but it's your job as a developer to ensure that you review the code for all the safety standards, right? Privacy, security, and whatnot. That is one part of it. The other part of it is to be able to develop systems thinking, right? You're not just like writing a software program, you're actually developing a system. And you should assume that you have a bunch of junior engineers, which are like basically AI agents, as your assistants, and you have to do as much and as soon as possible, right? Uh, and generally, how do we acquire this, right? Both for mid-career professionals as well as early career, right? Is to just play with it. You've got to be brave enough to pick and ship side projects using all these open source tools. All of them have developer and free licenses. Build AI agents, right? Pick a problem in your company or just outside. Pick a problem, build a software. And as they say, right, building a software has never been easy, right? Even PMs are building that. So as a developer, contribute to open source, right? If you're, especially if you're an early career person, there is this point of like, how do you even show the proof that you have all the systems thinking and all? The best way to show it is do a project, put it on GitHub, right? And showcase it to all the hiring managers. That's what will win, as opposed to like the degrees, right? That's what software engineers just be fluent with AI assisted development, right? For PMs, I think Arjun, you already told. I think PMs are now expected to actually generate the MVP, right? To even show the proof of concept. Sometimes they are even expected to show the first version to customer just to get the feel of the product, right? And
Mhm.
then if the customer agrees to it, then developers actually jump in and build the real product. And this is actually happening in my company at scale, right? There are tools that create. We call it as rapid prototyping and rapid experimentation. Like we go to the market with multiple options, and then client picks one, and so we are already like ahead of the game, right? We're not experimenting in production. We are building the right product in production. So PM should think like that, right? And so for PMs, again, to demonstrate this, it's never been easy. There are so many tools out there that you can actually start shipping experiments right on day one. And I would say PM should actually build, and UX designers actually, they should build a portfolio of what they have built, right? What they have experimented fast to showcase to the hiring managers. And I just want to add one point about mid-career professionals. may have sounded that they are not at risk. I don't want to sound doom and gloom here, but anybody who is not willing to experiment and not willing to try is at risk, right? Whether it is mid-career or early career. Sometimes there is this challenge to mid-career folks that hey, you're just managing project, or you're just like managing Jira. Yes, those kind of folks would be at risk if that is the only thing you do. I think everyone is expected to now get their hands dirty, right? Like get involved in systems thinking, produce code, review designs, just get there in the middle of the what I call as the value delivery. Right? You have to be part of the value delivery. It can't just be like project management.
Hmm. Got it. And do you feel like, Sashida, for people at that level, there are going to be many people who are not necessarily just managing Jira, but they're managing mostly project issues, resources, budget, timelines, people. Do you think those skills, which are more around management, not necessarily, like you said, the core tech value add things like system design or reviewing code, do you think those skills are going to become relatively less important for mid-career professionals, or they won't be sufficient for you to, let's say, experience high level of career growth in the future?
Yeah, very good question. I think that's actually very pertinent to how India's IT services have operated, right? The leverage India's IT services have provided is the talent breadth or the talent volume, right? Right now, what the industry is asking is for talent depth. You need people who are deeply knowledgeable about things. Only few of them, and they were because earlier we were in the business of managing talent volume. We needed a lot of resource managers. I think that's the role, or something similar to that. However, now we are seeing the because the talent pool itself is reduced, we need probably lesser number of managers. So for people who are specifically in those roles, they do carry certain amount of risk, but that will not go to zero. Just like our Rahul mentioned that it will not go to zero because you have lesser talent pool to manage. You'll probably need less number of managers to manage, and for those who continue in that roles, they should all be about like super efficient delivery, right? Because those roles are going to go fewer, they need to find other paths, right? Like obviously, if today India needs 10,000 resource managers, tomorrow it probably only 5,000, right? The rest 5,000 need to find all value delivery roles, and that's where I have actually myself coached through Pivot many folks who want to transition to product management, right? For example, or even software engineering, right? And there are like multiple other paths these folks are bringing, because sometimes as a resource manager, you are also acquiring what Rahul called as domain depth. You're in a certain domain, finance, banking, right? Healthcare, wherever you are acquiring that domain. So you should use those as leverage and move forward in the career.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. And Sashida, just one last question, similar to what I had asked Rahul earlier. Can you give me like a specific example, again, from your company or outside your company, of where you have seen this kind of evolution of skills happening, either early career or mid career level, but a concrete example which actually made you feel like, okay, this person is clearly differentiating himself or herself versus their peers because they are adapting to the new AI age?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was impressed by a particular college graduate who demonstrated that while most folks, I think the example is pretty simple. The college had a website which is not great, right? It's very poor, and this person actually grabbed the opportunity of redesigning the website, right? And nobody asked them to do that. Like it was just a pure instinct to do it. Now, instead of doing it the traditional way, you can build the website in like 10 weeks, right? It'll take a lot of people, a lot of resources. This college graduate got their hands to all of the AI development tools, right? How to build better UX, right? How to actually architect the backend better, how to build the UI better. And they actually transformed the college website to real shiny, almost like enterprise grade website. uh, and that stuck a chord that helped them actually land a very powerful role as like a entry software engineer, right, in a very reputed company. So I have and I think those kind of things really stand out now with hiring managers, like show the real proof of work, right? And And if you have actually done the work, hopefully you're able to answer all the questions that hiring managers answer, right? Like you know the depth of it, like how have you used the tools, what were the
Right.
challenges, right? That was pretty inspiring for me, and keep quoting this example because we say that uh, early career folks are at risk, but if you are hungry, right, if you are enterprising, definitely not. In fact, there is a lot more you can do with
Yeah.
less right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think some really good insights there. Thanks for sharing that, Sashida. Um, before I jump into the next topic, I just wanted to highlight to anybody who has joined us today. Firstly, thank you so much for joining. But secondly, this is a great time to share your questions with us. Some of you have already shared them before the event even started, so we'll be taking those up. But if there's anybody who would like to ask further questions from Rahul and Sashida during this session, feel free to drop them in chat and we'll be taking them up very soon. Yeah, so just getting back to our discussion, Rahul, the next thing I wanted to focus on, see, we've been talking a lot about the domain and industry specific issues and skills, what's kind of projects you are seeing people building or initiatives they are taking using AI. And that is all, very, very helpful. But at the same time, pivot really helps those professionals who are transitioning in their careers, right? Usually they are either changing their domain, their industry, their level in the organization. So those kind of inflection points. Now, we have a lot of folks who are trying to understand how to leverage it for their job search, for their career transition, and that kind of a thing. So not just upskilling necessarily, but upskilling to get a new opportunity. Can you maybe share your thoughts with regard to certain, let's say, most effective strategies you might have seen for people who are applying to Zoho, or perhaps, outside of Zoho, if you have any examples? What are they doing according to you that's helping them stand out in the current job market? And as most of you know, current job market for the last maybe almost 3 years now, since the layoff started back in 2022, 23, it has been one of the most brutal markets, right? It's been extremely crowded. We see like 500 to 1,000 applicants per opening in India, at least a lot. And it's very, very hard to stand out, really, even if you're a good candidate with good experience, and using, AI to build, let's say, portfolios and stuff like that. So what are you seeing that stands out in the current job market?
Okay. So I can answer with respect to the sales. So when we do hiring at say a mid-career level, one a few things that I look for, or my team looks for, uh, is kind of we look into whether the person has the true uh, a strategic mindset, right? So let's say, for example, we are hiring for a regional manager role, right? So on paper you have the job description, take ownership of revenue and so on, but we really look for how the person actually breaks it down into actionable items, right? So let's say a partner manager role. So I generally look at how a person who's going to get hired in this role, I look at his way of thinking, how he's going to think and approach the problem, identify the current gaps, problems, set a plan to it, identify metrics of how you're going to execute that plan and track that plan, and in case you come across roadblocks, how are they going to react to it, and change the plan and go ahead and implement it. Especially roles where in sales, uh, a lot of uh, interpersonal skills as well as relationship building is very important. So in a sales deal, in sales function, you not only interact with the customer, right? So there are a lot of internal dependencies. You'll have to interact with your legal team, your product teams, the pre-sales support teams, consulting teams. So many teams you have to interact with, because at the end of the day the ownership of the deal ultimately goes to the salesperson, but uh, you still have to interact with all of these people to successfully execute that deal. So we look for these kind of skills. So how they are, actually. navigating each team will have its set of blockers. For example, one of the common things that you come across is an objection from a legal team. So I have had multi-million dollar deals just being put on hold just because of one or two clauses from a legal point of view. It could be third party liability, or it could be some clause within the legal team that puts your entire deal on hold, right? But you will have to come figure out a way, use your experience here, use your judgment here, interact with the customer, interact with your legal team, make sure you sometimes when both the customer's legal team and your legal team, when they talk, they just keep on talking, but the solution doesn't arrive. Ultimately, when you put in your thoughts here, maybe we can do it this way, such that both sides are getting into a compromise. That is the kind of skills that's where that is your actual negotiation skill, right? So negotiation is not only about negotiating the budget with the customer, it is about internal negotiation as well. So these are the skills that I look for, especially when I do hiring for a mid senior or a senior role. So in my domain, in my function, I look for broad based judgment skills, interpersonal skills, and action based on your experience and so on.
And according to you, I mean, these are very, very human-centric skills in my view. No, I think Sashidhar's answer might be different. I'm interested to see how that will juxtapose to what you just shared. But do you feel like these skills? I mean, two questions actually. One is that these skills are demonstrable pre-interview stage as well, like in the sense you are able to gauge that from somebody's LinkedIn or resume a lot of times as well. Uh,
Uh, in not so clearly from the resumes, that's why we have the an elaborate interview stage.
mm,
At least in Zoho, we it's not just a one or two rounds of interview. We have multiple rounds, especially for
mm,
senior levels. So again, it all ties in together, right? So your resume has to be interesting enough, catch those key points, and
mm,
so that comes across to the interview panel, and they ask the right questions that brings out these skills which you have.
mm. Okay,
So it all kind of ties in together.
got it. And do you feel like these skills are sort of untouchable in AI era, in the sense like AI would not be able to touch people who have mastery over these skills?
I have a strong feeling that will be the case, at least uh, maybe 2 decades down the line. AI can mimic human a lot more, but at least for now,
Yeah,
these are skills which I feel it will be very hard for an AI to mimic, especially human judgment, uh, ethical reasoning, very human centric qualities.
yeah.
At least for now, it will be very difficult for AI to come across these. That's why you see far less automation in sales function,
Mm,
because like, would you be okay talking to an AI bot for
yeah,
a $10 million deal? No, you
yeah.
wouldn't, right?
Oh. I mean, the thing that we have seen, at least in the West, Rahul, is that there are a lot of AI centric sales, sort of SDRs that are being experimented with, but at a very junior and early stage
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
level in the
yeah,
deal. More for the like outbound, initial outbound sort of messaging that they are doing.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are so many human variable factors in deal making
Mhm.
that I think it'll take some time for AI to kind of do the optimization on each aspect of the flow. Plus, I
Exactly,
think, I mean, like you said, it's very hard to change how deeply the systems have been entrenched in terms of human to human trust uh,
exactly.
through relationship. And yeah, that'll be interesting to see if people kind of are able to overcome that. Yeah.
And then you can actually add one more layer to this, and if you have very good, human-centric skills, and on top of that you build your, niche domain skills, it will be pretty hard to, replace you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Agreed. Sashidhar, yeah, same thing. I mean, you have even a even I would say maybe a slightly better vantage point because you work for one of the largest, sort of job boards in the world, and you must be seeing how hiring trends are taking shape in this new era. So I guess you probably have more experience in terms of not just looking at the hiring that's happening at Indeed, but perhaps outside Indeed, at thousands of companies. What is your viewpoint in terms of the key things especially like early and mid career professionals are doing to stand out in the current job market?
Yeah, I think there's lots to talk about, but I'll keep it focused. I think different fields and professions are adjusting to the AI changes in the AI landscape very differently. But the one commonality I have seen is just the hiring process itself has changed, including Indeed. I think my own team's engineering hiring process has significantly shifted. We actually, for example, are introducing using AI assisted coding rounds, right? AI assisted troubleshooting, system architecture with open tools and all that stuff. And because that is what actually you'll be doing on the job. So the interviews and the hiring process actually reflecting what you're doing on the job. So how you effectively use these tools is one of the biggest change that has happened in most of the hiring processes. Um, and that I would say is a big change in the landscape, which is like just 2 3 years. We've noticed big change, and hiring process itself now, fortunately or unfortunately, also includes AI tools themselves. So there is one problem of like AI tools applying for you and AI recruiters screening for you. So there is like this big challenge of AI talking to AI. So the human element. So at Indeed and elsewhere, right? Like we still emphasize that for hiring specifically, human element is important. However, you have to prove your mettle as a candidate in using AI tools for improving your job's efficiency and throughput. Right? I think that's the biggest thing I have seen in how AI has changed the hiring, right? And
Yeah.
one thing I would say is for engineers specifically, I think because we are hiring, and that is one of the most impacted role, how you use AI is now being tested in the interviews.
Hmm.
So you gotta actually practice producing code using AI, debugging large code bases using AI. These are the things that you probably would have expected only to do on the job, but this is now actually happening during interviews because employers want to know whether you're resistant to AI or are you,
Yeah.
enthusiastically embracing it.
So it's kind of like an audition almost. It's not an application anymore. It's you're sort of
Yeah,
auditioning for the role. It's very
exactly.
interesting. I think we're moving from application era to audition era because of AI. It's what it's looking like in job search today. Um, I have a couple of follow-up questions, Sashidhar, to that, if it's okay, quickly. Um, Regarding the job search tools that you're talking about, and AI talking to AI, I mean, that's a pretty significant development that we have been seeing at Pivot as well. And, one of the unintended consequences of that is that earlier you had, let's say, 100, 200, maximum 300 people applying to a job. Now there are, double, triple that number because earlier if it took people half an hour to apply to a job because they used to customize manually, and read the JD. Today, they don't need to read the JD. They just copy paste it into a Gen AI, sort of ask them to customize. And again, AI is doing the heavy lifting, right? So they are applying to many more jobs. Is that the end goal? I mean, you're saying that there should be more of a human element. That's what your stance and the company's stance is. But the trend is slightly different that we are seeing, right? Like most people are just happy with using AI tools to curb down their workload, even though it may impact the conversion rate of their applications and they don't hear back. But it makes it very easy, right, to kind of apply. So, are you seeing that people are going to continue prioritizing that ease and efficiency, even though it doesn't result in the outcomes that they are looking for, which is a job?
Yeah, excellent point, actually. So the application process itself is transforming big way, right? Uh, it is making it, of course, pretty easy to apply to jobs, but most, including Indeed and other job boards and job portals, are actually allowing employers to customize their application process, right? They are adding more interesting elements, of course, using AI tools to make the extract the candidates who best match the profile, right? Like you can no longer just like anyone can apply. I mean, I take this very extreme example of a salesperson applying to a software job, right? Earlier we just like accepted those applications. That's possibly no more, right? Like there are multiple points in application process where we check that, sometimes using AI, sometimes using other techniques, but we check that. So essentially, AI has sort of increased the volume of application, but it also sort of raised the bar in what is a good quality, high quality application, right? It helps us raise the bar there. So it's a very delicate balance that is needed in this marketplace. The job seeker and employer are, uh, and basically, my sense is AI has actually elevated the leverage in both the directions. Just that high quality matches are what are going through. Even if the number of volume of applications are very high, job seekers are getting to know the outcomes really fast. They know that whether they are qualified or not really fast, for
Right.
example, right? Earlier you have to, and hiring managers now don't need to look thousand, right? There is basically an AI tool sitting on the recruiter side that quickly says, okay, who are the best matches, and also it's an interesting change in dynamic that hiring industry is adopting to, uh, and I would say it's AI talking to AI while in several other applications is bad. In in the job search marketplace, it's actually good because it is producing better outcomes on both the parties.
Interesting. Okay, fair. And I think that makes a lot of sense on the employer side. I see what you're saying because see if there are double or triple the amount of candidates, you have to raise the bar to get to the shortlist. Because if you keep the bar the same, you're basically letting the floodgates open, and there's going to be a huge ton of applicants who would pass that criteria. So I think that does make a lot of sense. Um, all right, I think we are coming to a close for today's session, and we've taken some really, really interesting insights from both Rahul and Sashida. Thanks for sharing. I think so openly and so pointedly all of the insights you have. I think just to wrap it up, what would really help is perhaps maybe you can take 10 seconds if you want to think about it, but I just want sort of key takeaway that you want to highlight to our early and mid career professionals who have joined today, especially who are currently in the job market looking for a new role within, let's say, sales and business oriented roles, and then engineering tech oriented roles. If you were to give them, let's say, one or two pieces of key takeaways, key advice, what would that be that they can use and actually apply practically for better outcomes? Rahul, whenever you're ready, please go ahead, and then Sashida, over to you as well.
Sure. So I think Sashidhar put it quite well. So you need to have both breadth as well as depth, right? At least when it comes to a sales role, the breadth being a vast set of human-centric skills, interpersonal skills, negotiation skills, so on. Depth being your domain expertise, whichever domain you are in, try to put in more effort. You have lots of tools at your disposal. Go deep, learn about that domain. Even if you come across technical topics, at least be knowledgeable enough, or at least put in the effort and research to be knowledgeable enough to hold a conversation with your target audience, right? So uh, depth, that is where the depth comes in, right? uh, Learn about your tools specific to your function. There is no excuse not to learn it. Even when you are a senior career professional, you should know how the tool is going to work, because when your juniors do it, you should be able to validate the outcome, right? So learn how the tool operates, if you're especially if you are in the tech industry, and learn about AI related privacy and compliance. So I feel that this particular area is going to be there's going to be a vast need of professionals in this space, because it's a very vague phase right now, because we are very used to a firm set of laws that deal with deterministic events, but AI falls in the probabilistic set of outcomes. So you need a lot of expertise to navigate such fields, right? So AI related privacy, compliance, specific to your industry, specific to your function. Put some effort, at least not as a legal expert level, but at least knowledgeable enough to uh, again hold a conversation. So that would be my take.
Okay. All right. Great. I think very powerful, very helpful. Thanks for that. Sashidhar, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but I'd like to address the fact about fear, right? Like this is creating fear about job loss and stuff like that. And I'd like to remind, especially the mid-career professionals, that we've all seen how major tech shifts have happened, right? There was cloud, there was mobile, and then like few other things I can talk about. But AI is no different. However, AI has been sort of way more disruptive than the other tech shifts that have happened, right? So if we look back, I think actually tech professionals have actually largely benefited from such situations, right? If you only focus on job loss, it'll be very difficult to progress here with a fear mindset. I would rather say that it's about skill evolution, right? Just evolve with the skills, right? And I would say the fastest learners will win, right? So you gotta like get onto this bandwagon, create a portfolio that showcases how you're using the latest tools, right? And I think the fastest learners will win, right? So
Yeah.
we just get out of the fear mindset and think about like skill evolution and fast learning.
I like the that dose, healthy dose of optimism. So thanks for sharing that. I think we are coming to a close finally. Again, I can thank Rahul and Sashidhar enough for their time and expertise. You both, I think, really shared a lot of balanced takes on all the questions that we asked, and that's really helpful because it wasn't fear mongering or it wasn't just surface level. I think it went deep. It really gave people certain practical insights that they can hopefully take away and apply to get to their desired career outcomes. And that's more than we could ask for. Thank you so much to our audience who joined us on Tuesday evening. I hope that the time you spent away from work or from family, was worth it. And we will be sharing a recording of this session as well to our subscribers. So thank you once again, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thanks again, Rahul and Sashida.
Thanks,
Really
Arjun.
good to have you both. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.